Hello and welcome to week 12, everyone. I hope you're having a good semester and happy Buddha's birthday as well. I hope you're celebrating in a proper method, whatever it may be, whatever way that might be. Now, this week is our final talk, proper talk, in that we're going over evaluating proposals. So basically, looking at from the point of view of the evaluator of a proposal or proposed project, seeing what they look for and how that can help us make better proposals and write better as well, and help better in our thinking. There are two examples I'm going to give us, and one is from a private charity organization and one is from a public government organization, both from the United States, but they both provide a good amount of insight in what they're looking for if they're going to give money or backing or support to something. So it is quite helpful, I think. It is dry, I admit. It's a bit boring, but it is, I think, it's quite helpful for you to better guide how you're making things and to better think what is the audience looking for. All right, enjoy and see you at the end. With that, let's talk about evaluating proposals. And now, the title I have here on the screen, that's just evaluating. That's been discussed in other classes about evaluating students. But I want to focus on evaluating proposals. It's something that's a little different, and I think it's something that's helpful to think about how proposals are judged, and that will help us make better proposals in our careers. Now, I found a couple of examples, but one is a private charity organization and one is a U.S. government organization. And they have their own criteria. Of course, they have different goals. The first list is from an organization, a group called the Harvest Foundation. It's a private charity that focuses on supporting vocational education of the population of Martinsville, Virginia. Martinsville is a smaller, oh, I'd say, yeah, it's a smallish town in southern Virginia and the surrounding area. So it's the entire goal is helping people get skills so they can get jobs, and so there'll be more companies to move to Martinsville and make more jobs. Basically, to make an attractive population for companies to open up businesses, education, basically. So this is when they get proposals to help with that. This is what they judge the proposals on. One, the need statement, and there is an identified local need that the project will address and what will occur as the result of the project. So for your proposals, you need to identify what is the need of the school, of the students, and what will change because of your project. Here, they give a little explanation. So a good proposal, they say, that clearly identifies a compelling problem or need with documents with local or national statistics and references that need to be addressed and the problems to be solved. So they're saying that there is a problem and proof that there is a problem. That helps. If you're talking about money being given out, we're not talking about, just a manwan or two man or imanwan. We're talking, well, with big projects, ilok, iok, a lot of money going around. So we need to make sure it's going to somewhere that it's actually needed and proof that it's actually a real problem. Now, this is a bit more interesting. Strategic alignment. And here, how does the project proposal align with Harvest funding priorities and goal? So, especially with governments or private organizations who give money, they need to know that giving money to a proposal will help them? How does this help the fundee, the funder? How does this help them achieve their goals, their own project goals, their own organization goals? So if you're imagine that if you're getting money, you're applying to the Kangwon Office of Education. Their goal is the education of students of Kangwon. So how does your proposal help achieve their goals? And then next, it seems very obvious, but reading online, it seems it's not as obvious as people think. Project goal. What does the project hope to accomplish? And make sure that they're clear, focused, and complete. Not as in have them focused enough. If you say something as in, students will have a love of English, that means nothing. That is very unfocused. That's not clear. What does that mean? Love of English, but they won't be able to speak it? Love of English and they won't understand it? I love Italian because I like spaghetti? No, so it's not. It doesn't work that way. So, what are the achievable goals that your project will be able to reach? Then the project work plan. Be able to describe what the project will do, what the activities, the strategies are well thought out, and how these activities, how these actions are tied to the results. For example, how will a robot help students speak English? It'll help you describe what it is. Go into a little bit of explanation on how your proposals, what you want to do, how will that actually help the students? Then population served. For your proposals, you have a very limited population, but it is something I've seen in all these criteria. Who is this going to help? How many people? What will the impact be? And especially, for real life situations where you're actually giving money to organizations, and a lot of money, you want it to actually help people, not one person or two persons, hopefully the hundreds or thousands. Or it's a specific group of people that you want to help. For example, homeless single mothers, as in women with children who don't have a home, they're living outside, or living they don't have a permanent home. That's a very specific small group, but it's a good thing to help them because they have children. So you'll need to identify who you're going to help. Some proposals you might be proposing to help the larger community or not. That's fine, but be sure to identify who you're trying to serve. Then, this is really interesting. How are you going to measure the success of your program? How do you measure success or failure? And what is that? So we need specific, measurable objectives that the project will achieve during the grant period that will directly support its goals. Now, when we talk about grants, organizations will give money for a certain period of time, 1 year, 2 years, but after that, they'll stop. And they might give more money later, or they might not. So it's something where the grant might be a Kickstarter for the program, or it might just be a one-time deal, and hopefully not a one-time deal. It should be a sustainable program. So we see here the explanation. Objectives clearly address the problem or need and are measurable and realistic. Clearly define steps to be taken to achieve project goals, provide success indicators, answer the questions who, what, by when, by how much, identify the method or instruments to be used in evaluation and measurement. So for our projects, if the effort is to improve English education, how will we measure that? How can we measure that in a distinct, objective way? Not subjective, not the students feel better, because you can feel good about something and still be terrible about it. We've seen enough singing contests to know that's true. But how can we measure success or not of our own projects? And so it's something to Think about how can you measure your own success for your projects. And this one, of course, the innovative approach. Does this project duplicate other community projects? Is this project innovative? Now, duplicate other community projects, that's not a bad thing in of itself. For example, if they do a great program in Jeju, and we want to do the same thing in Chuncheon, oh, that's great. But if there's, as in, these programs aren't going to overlap. They're not going to compete against each other. They're in different locations. And it's a great thing to copy other people's success. Yeah, see, that's what Coupang has done with Amazon. They copied Amazon, and they copied the best. They copied the number one online retailer, and it helped them immensely. They copied the best. So copying successful programs isn't bad, but what they mean here, duplicate other community projects, they mean within the community. So if there's a program in Chuncheon City that already does what you suggest, why should they give money to you if you're just going to do what somebody else already does? That's what they're asking for. So is this something new? And so think about your proposals. Are you suggesting new things or things that are already being done in schools already? It's things to think about. All right, this one is much more hypothetical for us, but it is something to bear in mind. Collaborations and partnerships. Who are you working with, if anyone? That'd be other organizations or companies. And so you'll need to identify who those people are, and especially what value they will bring, what expertise, things like that. This would be like donations from companies or technical expertise, things like that, and have their roles clearly identified. Or if you're working with another program or another organization, what their job in that program is. It might be truck drivers, for example. Just you need to identify who those people are. Then this is very important. Overall, how much money do you expect to spend? So for us, for our project, we can't really know, but I want you to try to estimate, try to guess, more than guess, but try to think of about how much money this project is going to cost. So you can, it's part of the proposal. A lot of times projects are wrong. They underestimate the amount of money needed. That's very normal, but it's good to start thinking about how much money you actually need. This part you won't be able to do, but organizational history. This is the proposer's reputation, of who they are and what they're capable of. This is quite important in the real world, because if I just show up at Chuncheon City Hall and say, I got a great idea for a boys band, they're not going to give me money. They don't know who I am. They don't care who I am. I have no connections and no proof, or no history either in that regard. So it's something to bear in mind for the real world. For our purposes, this is not important for our own project, for this own assignment, because I know who you are. This as well is not important for our purposes, but it's something important in the real world. Financial health of the organization. As in, is there proof that if you give money to a charity, to the organization, are they going to be around next year or the year after, or are they not going to be around? That happens sometimes. We give money and the people just run away. So that, there's no evident red flags. So that's real world concerns coming in. And then also the qualifications. Do people know what they're talking about? Do they actually know how to do the thing they're going to do? If you go on Kickstarter, and I might show you some Kickstarters, there's a lot of people with great ideas, but they have no idea how to actually do it. If you've heard of the Fire Festival, it's supposed to be this great big music festival up on in the Caribbean island. But the people organizing the festival had never organized a festival before. They didn't know how to do anything. They had never organized an event before. So that can happen. So in real world, staff qualifications and history of doing something similar, or even if it's on a smaller scale, they have some idea that they know what they're doing. Then sustainability. specific realistic plans for the long-term sustainability for the project. So we're getting a project started. What's it going to look like in 5 years or 10 years? And are there plans for it to last longer? Okay. Three, two, one. This is another criteria. This is the actual criteria. This is this form, designed for use in grantsmanship center training programs, can assist the proposal writer in the preparation and improvement of a complete proposal. It is also an aid to the proposal evaluator in assessing the merit of a grant application. The article was originally published in the Grantsmanship Center News, a bi-monthly publication of the Grantsmanship Center. I found this on the National Highway and Safety Transportation Board website. It's a U.S. government department in charge of road safety. And so this provides a very nice, clear way of how to judge, but also if you're writing a proposal, what you're going to be judged on. And so it's a nice checklist of things. So first we see summary. Clearly and concisely summarizes the request. We see yes, no, then 1 to 5, how good it was. So is there a summary at the beginning? Do they identify the grant applicant? 1 sentence on credibility, 1 sentence on the problem, 1 sentence on the objectives, 1 sentence on the methods. Total cost, funds, already obtained, and the amount requested. Is it brief? Is it clear? Is it interesting? Boom, 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 boom. So I think this is a nice checklist, and this is something that people have used in real life to write better proposals and to help judge proposals. And then we see, so that was this introduction, establishing who is applying for funds, what we're going to do with them, the purpose, the program's activities, the who you've already helped before, evidence of applicants' accomplishments, the proof, your history, statistics in support of accomplishment. So not just what you've done, but and then the numbers showing the improvement of education, of safety, of less injury, things like that. Quotes, endorsements, people saying how great you are. Supports qualification, and then leads logically to the problem statement. Is brief as possible, is interesting, is free of jargon, of difficult to read vocabulary, because this is an introduction. All right. Needs assessment on the problem statement. They outline what is going on, what's the problem. And this is important here, is of reasonable dimensions, not trying to solve all problems. No one proposal is ever going to fix everything. If a problem is big enough to be a societal problem, then there's not one answer. There's not 2 answers. There's probably 5 or 6 or maybe 10 different answers to help solve the problem. So make sure that we're in our lives, when we're proposing solutions, we need to be focused on what part of the problem are we trying to solve. If the big problem is English education in rural schools in Kangwon province, that's a big problem. So focus it. How are you going to help? Identify what the smaller problems are that make up the big problem. And so, yeah, this is all proof. No unsupported assumptions, things like that. We have that. And then describes the outcomes in measurable terms. How can we measure success or measure failure? Some programs are failures. That happens. And sometimes things don't work out. But it's important that we can measure how it failed so we can improve and know in the future to try different things. Or if we try it again, we know how it failed the first time and try again in a different way at a different time maybe with different people, with a different population. What works in Seoul might not work in Yangyang, and what works in Yangyang might not work in Seoul. Those are very, very true things. And the solution may not be a bad solution. All right. But I think I'm going to attach this in an announcement just for you to read over. I don't need to read it all myself. But all of this is quite helpful in describing the activities to be conducted to achieve, as in how are you going to solve the problem, how are you, describing staffing, the sequence of activities, why did you, so describe the activities, the reasons for that selection. So what are you going to do, why are you going to do it, how are you going to do it, and then also describe a reasonable scope of activities that can be conducted within the time and resources of the program. So there are limitations of time and distance, time and space, that we won't be able to achieve with any program really. So you'll need to identify what the actual scope of your project is, and it is limited. Every program, every project is limited. Just some are more limited than others. All right, then evaluation of the program. So when you make proposals, you'll need to describe how you propose to evaluate your proposed project. A lot of sounds in this today. So you present a plan for evaluating your accomplishments, present a plan for evaluating and modifying methods. Things you might start one way, things aren't working out, so you need to modify it. So how are you going to evaluate and change? Then also, who is going to be doing the evaluation? How are they chosen? If we're talking a lot of money, especially with taxpayer money, it's good to make sure that we're honest with the money and honest with the evaluations. That's very important. It clearly states criteria for success, how data will be gathered, test instruments, how are you going to get the data, and all that good stuff. Now, are you going to need to have all of this in your proposals? No, don't worry about this. I just want you to understand how proposals can be evaluated. For example, future funding. Please don't worry about that. Just worry about your initial proposal. But this is the idea that in real life, a plan for continuation beyond the initial amount of money, the initial grant. And for budget, I would like to see how much money you're going to be needing, but this is asking who is paying for what, and that part you don't worry about. Just how much money, and don't go into too much detail. For example, this because here it has includes all items asked for the funding source, includes all items paid for either source, includes all volunteers, details fringe benefits separate from salaries, includes all consultants, separately details all non-personnel costs, includes indirect costs where appropriate. Don't go into, just give us the general cost. If you want to buy tablet computers, how much money do you want to spend on those tablet computers? If you want to buy a giant robot, like a kaiju robot, how much money do you need? Things like that. All right. And that's it. I'm going to put this PDF on eClass so you can look through it in some detail if you think it will help you better understand the idea of proposals. Don't worry too much. This is the first time, again, I'll say this again, this is the first time where I've done any kind of project like this, so I'm going to go very generously. I just want to see some effort. But you don't need to go crazy, hog wild crazy into detail. I don't want to put too much stress on you. I just want to put an appropriate amount of stress. So if we have any questions or any more questions, we'll check that on eClass. And then also on eClass, the majority of you voted for a random order, and I've posted that online. And just to remind ourselves, let's check together. All right, so next week, week 13, that means submit by May 25th. Group 2, Group 5, Group 8. Week 14, June 1st. Group 1, Group 9, Group 6. And week 15, submit by June 8th. Group 3, Group 4, Group 7. You'll notice that these are on Tuesdays because I want to include the videos in the lectures so we can watch them at our leisure and we can provide our own evaluation. And I think it'll help us pay attention. So make sure you get those videos to me the day before our lecture day. If we have any more questions, please ask. This is new, exciting territory for us all. And have an excellent week. And, well, we'll see how the videos are soon. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And there we have it. As I mentioned during the lecture, I'm going to post the PDFs on eClass so you can look at them at your leisure and see what they said. There's a bit of detail that we didn't go over. Not everything in those criteria, in those rubrics, are applicable to us. But I think they're helpful for us to bear in mind for the future and to remember what's going on. So next week, we'll have 3 videos to watch, and there'll be I'll make a Google sheet, a kind of survey for you to fill out and provide your own evaluation on each proposal. I want you to try to be honest so you can give meaningful feedback. And your feedback will be anonymous to each other. You won't be able to know who's who, hopefully. But I'll go into more detail of that next week. But yes, so we're going to evaluate each other's proposals, and we'll use the rubrics as a starting point. But we won't go into full details for it because it's not a real proposal, obviously. So we don't need the 3 pages of proposals for that. But it should be quite exciting. I'm very excited to see what we've come up with and to see how we've developed and to see how everything is coming together. So the first 3 groups will be next week. We'll have some evaluations. Evaluations. I say evaluations. Really, it's like more of a kind of a guarantee that you've watched each other's videos. That's really what it's about. And then we'll have that task, and that will effectively be the end. Then there'll be an exit survey at the end of the semester, but that will be still a few weeks off. So check on eClass and make sure to stay safe for all love, and we'll see each other again. In August maybe. All right then, but check in next week for the first videos of yours. All right, have a great week and goodbye.